something like me and you get a chair.
School at 9 o'clock. I left at 9:20 maybe. Let me see your leg.
You know, you go around the state. There's some problems with the legislature. It's representation,
Good afternoon. I'm Eileen McAvoy, Superintendent of Perry School. The day is here and it's really happened. I thank everybody for being so flexible so that we can host this event today. It's a great honor and a privilege to welcome United States Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton and the Sallie Mae Company and Pioneer Credit Recovery to Perry Central School today. This has been a wonderful experience for our entire school and for our community. We're excited about the new opportunities that Sallie Mae and Pioneer Credit Recovery will not only bring to our community, but to our school district. It's my pleasure today to introduce our first speaker, Kathy Bayless. Kathy founded the Pioneer Credit Recovery in 1980 while Listen students. She was a senior in college. She started her company. She was a senior at State University of New York at Buffalo. Today, Kathy is president of the company, which has more than 380 employees. Kathy and her company have been the recipients of many prestigious awards over the years. She has also served in leadership roles in many local and state organizations. Ms. Bayless is a supporter of local interests and takes an active role in raising funds for numerous charitable organizations. To date, Pioneer Credit Recovery has donated thousands of dollars to worthy causes. Kathy continues in her capacity as President and CEO of the newly incorporated Pioneer Credit Recovery Incorporated after its sale to Sallie Mae. I want you to please welcome, and it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Kathy Bayless.
Sallie Mae's success under Al Lord's leadership is a testament to the philosophy he instills in each one of us every day. Sallie Mae will provide the greatest value to students. Sallie Mae will provide the greatest value to the schools, and Sallie Mae will provide the greatest value to taxpayers. I am very pleased that Pioneer Credit became a part of Al Lord's vision for Sallie Mae's service to students, schools, and taxpayers, and I am very proud to have our CEO here today to help us announce our growth in Perry. Ladies and gentlemen, Al Lord.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy, I had made a deal before we came in here that we would say nice things about each other. I think you went a little overboard, but I do appreciate it. All right. Well, I just want to make that one thing straight. I am CEO of Sallie Mae. I am not Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae is your new neighbor. We teamed with Pioneer and with Kathy, and I think you could see from Kathy's delivery and her style and what she's accomplished, that was a very easy decision for Sallie Mae to begin our expansion in this business with Pioneer. Kathy, well, I'll just summarize. Kathy rated #1 in the business in the United States of America, not just in New York and not just in the Northeast, but in the United States of America. It was a very easy decision for us. The only issue I thought we would ever have is whether Kathy would be willing to sell. After she beat up our negotiators in the process of selling, we finally joined and are now a team. I'll leave it there. Sallie Mae is in the student loan business. You guys are, for the most part, out there students. You're our potential customers. I'm going to be a little bit of a fortune teller. Those of you who are going on to college, and I hope that most of you, you'll be visiting with us, borrow money, get you into school. And when you meet us and we give you money that gets you into school, you're going to like us a great deal. And then you're going to leave school, and we're going to ask you for the money back. And then you're probably not going to like us quite as much as you like us. We want you to remember, though, that you're getting an education, and that education is every bit as valuable to you. In fact, it's far more valuable to you than any other asset you will have, because when you leave college, and these are modest statistics because they're a little bit old, you can expect to earn more than $1 million in your lifetime, more than if you don't go to college. Very few student loans are in excess of $1 million. It's a great return on investment. And then when you get your degree, maybe even if before you get your degree, you can work with Kathy and see the benefits of working with Pioneer and the Sallie Mae organization. I know you're not here to hear me. That's just one of the burdens of sitting in an assembly, as I recall, for many, many years. But I went to a lot of assemblies in my junior high school and high school career, and I never saw a U.S. Senator. They wouldn't have let any of them near my high school. And I have learned that this is the first time that a U.S. Senator has addressed this high school. And so we are actually making history as we stand here. I also want to thank Senator Clinton for coming. You have no idea how interested in this process she is and how hard she had to work today to get here. We've been at this since very early this morning. We finally were able to get her here, and she's here to talk with you and other members of the business community. I can tell you that when we began and worked out our deal with Pioneer, that the first call I got from a public official was from Senator Clinton, who first thanked us for what we were doing in bringing investment into this area. And the second thing she did was, can we bring more and can we grow this? The fact is that it is very much our intention to grow our investment here in Perry. We are looking at least doubling the workforce here. That will probably happen over a fairly short period of time, but we are very, very interested in the workforce here and the quality of labor, and the fact is the leadership that we have. As I said, I know you didn't come here to listen to me, so I'm going to sit down if I can find a seat. I think there's a young gentleman by the name of Scott who's going to introduce the senator to you. Thank you.
The president of our student government.
Today, we are all gathered to listen to one of our own United States senators. It is not every day that we get the honor of listening to the ideas and plans of our U.S. Senator and former First Lady. With her proposals and educational ideas, our community and county will be given the chance to continue to be a prosperous location to settle. Wyoming County has been anxiously waiting to have something remarkable awaken our motivation to take the next step towards excellence and to give its youth a reason to stay and build a future here. Senator Clinton was elected United States Senator from New York on November 7, 2000. She is the First Lady elected to the United States Senate and the first woman elected statewide in New York. She is dedicated to bring jobs to upstate New York. For example, through tax credits for small businesses, investments in telecommunications infrastructure, creating technology extension programs, skills training, restructuring utilities, and lowering airfares to increase regional accessibility. She proposes to make it possible for the economy in upstate New York and all regions of New York to flourish and stem the outmigration of young New Yorkers and their families. At this time, along with President Ryan Bryan and Vice President Andrea Ayers, we would like to present Senator Clinton with a Perry Yellow Jacket sweatshirt and also an I Love Milk sweatshirt. It is my pleasure to introduce a former First Lady and our President, United States Senator from New York. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Delighted to be here, and didn't Scott do a great job? I can certainly understand why your fellow students have entrusted you with the position you hold, Scott, and I want to thank Andrea and Ryan. And I brought something for you, and I got one of these for the middle elementary school, and I will send another one to the high school. But I was told by my very good intelligence sources that the school didn't have a New York State flag. So this is for you. For being so late and keeping all of you here. We had a wonderful plan to fly up together with some of the other executives and staff from Sallie Mae, and one of my staff from Washington has been working closely with Sallie Mae on some of these ideas and projects. But where I live in Westchester County, it was totally fogged in. And so we had to wait and wait and wait. And we were just determined we were going to get here, and I'm so glad that I was able to be here with all of you before school let out. That was my goal, and so thank you. And I want to thank your superintendent. Thank you very much, Eileen McAvoy, for letting us come to this beautiful school and such an impressive physical setting in this auditorium. I am absolutely delighted to be here with Al Lord and the whole team from Sallie Mae, who I know you're going to find are good neighbors and people with a lot of energy and ideas that will be available to the community to build on and make a difference for the citizens of Perry and Wyoming County. And I'm so proud of Kathy Bayless. I mean, what Al said was 100% right. She started a business as a student and grew it into the best business of its kind in the entire country. And it is a great tribute not only to Kathy, but to her family and her community and her upbringing and her education. And it's also a tremendous opportunity for young people from this county, from Perry, to recognize what is possible. That understanding your own potential and setting your own goals and then working as hard as Kathy has to achieve them does pay off. And so being here with her is inspirational to me. And I'm very proud of the contributions she's already made and the ones that she's going to be making in the future. I also want to thank all of the people who came to the round table. I'm looking forward to seeing you after we finish the assembly. and trading ideas about what more we could do to keep and attract good jobs here, to have the kind of balanced economy that builds on the strength of our agricultural economy and yet provides opportunities so that young people are able to stay close to home if that's their choice. The most common concern I hear throughout upstate is how difficult it seems to be to keep young people. And it's not that they want to go. I've never met people who want to stay in their communities as much as the young people I meet from upstate and particularly western New York. But the opportunities have to be here for you. And that's what I'm committed to do to the best of my ability, working with a lot of hardworking people, some of whom I'll be talking with in a few minutes after the assembly. Now, the last time I was in the county, and Doug will remember this, we were having a meeting about some other issues, and I went to the county fair. I met a lot of young people that night. Did I meet anybody at the county fair that night who was here in the auditorium? But I had a wonderful time, and it gave me a first-hand look at what everybody knows, which is that agriculture is the most important economic activity here in this county, and it's a very strong and proud tradition. And it's one that I'm working hard to support. We just finished working on the Farm Bill. That comes up every 5 to 7 years, and I think I'm the first United States Senator ever to have a full-time agricultural aide on my staff in Washington. And I did that because I wanted to be sure that if there was going to be a farm bill with billions and billions of dollars of government assistance going to farmers, that it was high time we got our fair share in New York. New York farmers have never been given the support for either dairy or specialty crops, fruits and vegetables that we deserve to have. So the farm bill that came out of the Senate does have, for the very first time, new programs to support dairy farmers and new programs to support fruits and vegetables. I hope we're going to be able to keep those provisions in the bill as it goes to what's called a conference. The House passed one version which had nothing in it like this for New York and for other states like us. And the Senate did, because we worked really hard. I had my assistant who Cornell, the Cooperative Extension Service, lent to me. And he came down and started working, and I said, now you go and meet every aide to every senator that has anything to do with agriculture, most of whom are from the Midwest. And he came back and reported, and they said, well, what are you doing here? You're from New York. You don't have any farms. And so then I started traveling around with, a little document, and I'd take my friends from the Dakotas or Iowa or Illinois or Nebraska, and I'd say, do you know how many farms we have? Do you know how agriculture is still the #1 industry in New York? They didn't know. They know now. And so we made some progress, but we have a long way to go to make sure that agriculture is a sustainable economic activity. If a young person wants to go into agriculture, we've got to make sure that you can make a living at it. So I'm going to continue to fight very hard to support and promote New York agriculture. But we know that that can't be the end of the story. That a county like Wyoming County and a community like Perry, because of the way the global marketplace is changing, because of the way technology is changing, that we've also got to have a balanced approach to economic growth and to the creation of jobs here close to home. That's why it's so exciting, the announcements that we're making today. Because to be part of the announcement of the creation of up to 550 new jobs is such a shot in the arm for this community. And it will give many of you, young people and adults alike, a chance to have a good paying job that does an important service and is able to be performed near to home, something that I'm going to work hard to make possible in communities throughout Western New York. So that's the good news and the exciting news, but it gets even better. Because in addition to the new jobs that Sallie Mae and Pioneer Credit are going to be placing in this community, I'm also terribly excited to announce the establishment of a Sallie Mae Pioneer Credit Revolving Loan Fund for students and residents here in Wyoming County. This is the first such fund that we've announced and the first such fund that Sallie Mae has done here in New York. I hope it's not our last, but I think it's important to note that the first is right here in Wyoming County. And it's going to be something I'm proud to tell people throughout the state was done because of the great partnership between Sallie Mae and Pioneer and between the IDA here in the county that is going to make such a difference, between the community college, between the university. This brought everybody to the table. Because one thing we know, and I hear it all the time, is that not only for students coming right out of high school, but for a lot of people who maybe didn't go on to college, didn't go on either to a 4-year or 2-year program right when they got out of high school. Now they decide in their early 20s, maybe 30s, that, hey, they want to go back to school and get some skills and get some training and get some education. But it's hard to do it if you don't have the financial support that you need. And what we're trying to do with this announcement of the Sallie Mae Pioneer Credit Revolving Loan Fund is to knock down some of those barriers so that we can encourage and support people in this county as they decide to get additional education. And I have to say a special word of thanks to Al Lord and to Kathy because they've really taken this idea and put it together. Now this new fund will bring opportunities and skills to many residents here in Wyoming County because a highly trained workforce is the key component to economic growth today. If I were to say, based on all of the meetings I've had and all of the visits I've made throughout Western New York and the rest of upstate New York, what one thing would make the biggest possible difference, it probably is to be able to have the most highly trained, skilled workforce. But it's a kind of chicken and an egg problem. If there aren't the jobs, people leave and take their skills, go get their education elsewhere. So we've got to have the jobs coming, like with the announcement today, and marry that with this loan fund so that more and more people get the skills and the training that is needed so that we can attract even more jobs. So it's not only a revolving loan fund in the sense of money, it's kind of a revolving fund in the sense of let's get the skills, then we can attract more jobs, and then more jobs will create more opportunities so that people can get more education and expect to have a good job here close to home. So I think it's terrific that we have this new neighbor named Sallie Mae, and I'm glad Al cleared up any confusion that he's not Sallie Mae. I know Sallie Mae's a good neighbor because I lived a couple of blocks away for 8 years when I lived in the White House, where their national headquarters happened to be. And with this expansion and the creation of up to 550 jobs, we're going to be bringing more economic activity here to the county. And with this kind of economic activity and with the far-sighted plan to make sure that we get the financial barriers to going to school knocked down, I think we'll even increase the percentage of young people who go on to get additional higher education. Many of the young people here in this county have been really torn. I did talk to a bunch of young people at the county fair, and a lot of them just they weren't sure what they were going to do. They weren't sure what the economic prospects would be. They weren't sure about the future of farming. They weren't sure about whether they'd be able to stay close to home. And there has to be a two-step recognition. First, people have to recognize that the jobs that we used to be able to count on, that make a good living for a lot of honest, hardworking parents and grandparents, are just not available anymore, and they're not coming back. The information technology revolution, the opening up of global markets around the world means we've got to compete on different grounds than we did before. And once that's recognized, then to go on and get that additional training and education puts you into the job market in a competitive fashion. And I'm convinced that if we really build on this revolving loan fund, Wyoming County will look very different in 5 years than it looks right now in terms of the prospects for young people being able to stay right here. Now, this program, this revolving loan fund, has a proven record of success. In Northern Virginia, Sallie Mae created such a fund to pay for the educational and training courses required for employment in that part of the country. And to date, 422 applicants have received low-interest loans to cover the costs of tuition, of books, and living expenses. And it's important to note that what's special about this revolving loan fund is that it will help you pay for things that a lot of other loans and scholarships and grants don't help you pay for. It's kind of a terrible position to be in if you get a scholarship or you get a loan that goes right to tuition, but you can't afford your living expenses. Can't afford to get back and forth to school. There's a lot of expenses associated with just kind of living day-to-day life, and one of the principal reasons why people drop out of their higher education is they can't afford to keep living and going to school at the same time. So this revolving loan fund will help to meet some of those necessary but non-academic expenses, as well as tuition and books. Now, if you look at the potential here, I think you'd agree that this is a great day for Perry. This is the kind of break that a lot of communities are still looking for. And it's here in large measure because someone who loves this area decided to stay. One of my challenges to the young people of Western New York is don't leave so fast. Bring your dreams right here back home. And we have graduates from SUNY Buffalo like Kathy who graduate with tremendous skills. They're as computer literate as anybody in the world. And, the question in their minds is, well, do I stay and try to start something on my own here in Western New York, or do I immediately leave and go somewhere else because that's where the job right now is? What I'm hoping is that this announcement today will encourage more people to stake their future right here. There are a lot of good ideas. There's a lot of creativity, and there's nobody who works harder than people from Western New York. So what we have to do is convince ourselves that we can make a difference. And Sallie Mae and Pioneer Credit are really giving a big boost to that belief. And so it's a tremendous honor for me to be here and to work with you to attract and keep good jobs and support the agricultural economy. Every day that I'm in the Senate, I feel that it's such an honor to represent New York. I felt that way from the very beginning of my term, and it was even deepened and increased after September 11th because of the way the people of New York from one end of our state to the other responded, helped out, really unified to support those who suffered from the terrorist attacks, and also to be sure that we did everything that we could do to protect ourselves here at home, and support our men and women in uniform who are looking to root out the terrorist networks wherever they can be found. So it's an honor that is beyond words for me to be introduced as the senator from New York. And that's because of the people of New York. There isn't a more diverse state in our entire country. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so proud to fight for all of the people, from Jamestown to Montauk and Plattsburgh to Binghamton and every place in between. We have had a great history. We were talking on the way up here how the biography of Theodore Roosevelt, Theodore Rex, some of you may have heard about it, seen him being published recently. It starts with the assassination of President McKinley while Theodore Roosevelt was vacationing in the Adirondacks. They had to get him all the way to Buffalo to get him sworn in to be president. And he stopped in Arcade. There was a big crowd there. And the reason that he stopped in Arcade and there was a big crowd is because Western New York was the hub of industrial, economic activity. Erie Canal and the businesses that were started here literally opened up the entire country. The industrialization and the growth that we've enjoyed ever since. So we have an extraordinary history, but I am absolutely convinced that we have an even better future. And what we're announcing today will give many of you the chance to help make that future for yourselves, your community, your state, and your country. Thank you, and God bless you. To answer a few questions, and we've selected a few students. The first question is going to be posed by Cheyenne Post, Adam Ann.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Post. I'm a member of the class of 2009, and I'll be graduating from college in 2010.
I am a member of the class of 2007, and I will be graduating from college in 2011.
We would like to know, where will it put our community 10 or 11? What are you predicting for us, the emerging workforce?
What a good question. I think there is a lot of reason to believe that if we do what we need to do, if we make the kind of investments that are being made today in creating more jobs immediately, in providing more support for you to go to college and get a good education, that we can look to a good future for Perry and for Wyoming County. But it doesn't happen by accident. And it doesn't happen because you wish it to be so. It really does take a lot of hard work, like anything that is worth doing. And I believe that if we get the support we need for high-speed information connections, if we get a fair shake when it comes to agriculture support for New York, if we get more employers like Sallie Mae and Pioneer Credit, and if we most of all have young people who are willing to get the best education they possibly can, and to really commit themselves to building a future here, I think you've got a very, very bright outlook for the workforce and for the chance to come back and live a wonderful life here. But all that has to be done. It doesn't happen by waving a magic wand, but I think we're on the way. Thank you.
Locating in Wyoming County. What should I tell them? What things should I say are most attractive about this area?
Well, I think there's a lot you can say, Jane. I think you can start by saying that it's one of the most beautiful places in the entire country. That it has a tradition of hardworking people, people who are not afraid to put in a full day's work for a full day's pay. It has a wonderful sense of community, something that is not easy to find in the world today. And I think one of the greatest attributes of many of the communities in Western New York is that they are such fine places to live and raise children and send children to school. I think you can also say that what is being done here in the county is to try to make an investment in the future. You know, the IDA, the community college, the university, combining with private business is exactly the kind of partnership that will create a good environment to do business in. So I think the most important thing is the people. That is always the biggest selling point. The beauty of the surroundings and the landscape, which is so attractive, and people can get some space and can breathe and can feel like they're, really enjoying life, the quality of life, the level of education and support that communities give to families, and then the partnership that exists that's going to create up to 550 new jobs, plus a revolving loan fund to help young people like you go to college. I think that's a pretty good set of reasons why somebody should bring a job here.
What can we as a community do to help this idea foster future growth? And is there anything that our school can do to help?
Oh, these are all such good questions. I think we need a student advisory board for the economic development agencies. These are great. I think taking a hard look at your community and honestly trying to figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then going to work on trying to solve whatever the problems might be is exactly the right approach to take. And because of the history of this part of New York, I believe that sort of maintaining the sense of history that created Perry and Wyoming County in the past, tied to a future-oriented approach to job creation, is a wonderful combination. There are many beautiful small towns throughout western New York. Keeping those alive and then working harder to bring tourists, having festivals and other attractions to bring people to communities, at the same time that you're making sure that your educational performance is as good as it can be, is a very smart way to try to attract and keep people here. When you ask what your school can do, I think there are lots of projects. I'm sure, as in any community, there are probably cleanup projects, there are environmental cleanup projects, there are building projects that could be done, there are ways of enlisting kids to help other people, to make sure that older people have someone to run errands for them, just to create that sense of community. We're working in my office on another possible job opportunity in another community. And it was interesting because the CEO said to me, he said, I can go anywhere in the country and get tax breaks and get financial incentives, but what I'm looking for is a sense of community. I haven't heard that in a long time, but I have increasingly since September 11th. People realize that making a living is not the same as making a life. And as important as it is to have a good job, it's even more important to feel that you're supporting your family, that you're a person who your neighbors can rely on. And we have that to the nth degree in the communities in Western New York. So I think it's an intangible, but it really can be demonstrated as a selling point. And the more that young people are involved in supporting your neighbors and your communities, that's something you can talk about. Say that there are community service projects that the students at this school and the high school are engaged in, that people really try to look out for one another. It may not have a dollar sign attached to it, but it's a really important selling point, and increasingly so in today's world. So I think there's a lot you can do. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm told that we are going to have to end. I know that you have to leave, but I also wanted to thank the chorus. You did a wonderful job. I really me, and I have no voice whatsoever. My husband has a wonderful voice. I love to sing, and when I was younger than you, and really, Andrea's age, the music teacher in my school told me that I could sit with my friends in the chorus as long as I didn't open my mouth. But you make me sound good, because what a talented group, and I thank you, and I thank all of you for letting me come today.
The Board of Education, administration, teachers, staff, and students, I want to thank Senator Clinton, Sallie Mae, Pioneer Credit Recovery, for allowing us to be part of this day, for speaking to our students. They've been looking forward to it for as long as they knew it was going to happen, and for announcing the good news to us. And I think that we all know we now have a challenge that we need to work toward to make this happen in the best way possible. I'd like to ask the students to please stay here for a few moments while our guests have time to leave.
It's a thrill to welcome Sallie Mae to Wyoming County and Perry, and to really congratulate Kathy for growing a business here that would attract the attention of Sallie Mae and bring up to 550 new jobs, and in addition to establish a revolving loan fund that residents of the county can use to defray costs to attend 2- and 4-year advanced education programs. So this is a great day for Wyoming County, and I'm delighted to be part of it.
You talked a lot about helping them reach to a higher level of education. What's being done right now? Because I know little funds are coming in from the state to really help these kids graduate high school so they can then further their career and stay here and be successful.
Well, we are facing some difficult revenue shortfalls in the state, and that has rippled down to cut funding from the state for schools, and everybody's searching for ways to avoid undermining the basic mission of education. Clearly, the responsibility largely falls on local communities, but the state has a very big role to play. At the federal level, I was part of the committee that put together the education bill that was passed and signed into law, and there are more federal dollars coming, but we're going to have to work hard to make sure we don't damage the curriculum and provide a good education, because that's the key to good economic development.
What will be the push in the next few months?
Well, it's most of the action will be in Albany, and they'll have to set priorities, and I hope that they keep education as a top priority.
Senator Clinton, has any details as far as any sort of an expansion of either Perry operations or arcade operations been set yet, as far as any sort of a land deal or expansion of existing facilities or creating a new facility?
I'm going to let Kathy and Al answer that.
Okay. In Arcade, we will be adding approximately 150 jobs. We are currently underway. A 16,000 square foot addition is being added to the already 20,000 square foot facility. In Perry, or this end of the county, we are identifying a parcel that will be used to build approximately a 20 to 25,000 square foot facility that will house ultimately, eventually, about 400 to 450 new employees.
Can you explain a little bit about how students will be able to take advantage of this new revolving door loan and how it will affect them? Can any student that was sitting here today take advantage of it?
Well, there are certain criteria that are set, but as I understand it, and I know Al has some history with it because the first one was started in Northern Virginia. The eligibility is to be a student who will be in a program of education at either a 2- or 4-year institution and qualify for the loan, and it, as I said, can be used for a variety of costs. But Al, do you or anybody want to add?
I can help that, Senator. The private sector certainly needs to work in conjunction with both the community colleges, the industry here in Wyoming County, and for those students who are seeking to move their careers to the same path that the industry is growing in this county in particular, those funds would go into growing jobs that would fit the economic development of Wyoming. It's worked well with our relationship that we've had for the last 3.5 years in Northern Virginia, with the Northern Virginia Regional Partnership Program, and we expect to be able to duplicate that success up here as we work with the Economic Development Group here in Wyoming County as well.
So is the loan only for training for jobs within the county if they promise to stay?
It is definitely specific to the county. That's where your county funds are best at work. We certainly want to be able to take advantage of what the county is willing to put in to help the growth in this marketplace, as well as fulfilling job careers to keep labor here. I think that's the main purpose of a regional partnership. It takes both the private sector, the regional economic community development, and the schools to serve this marketplace for retraining or more skilled labor markets.
I intend to work with Sallie Mae and with economic development agencies and other private sector partners throughout the state to encourage them to set up similar county revolving loan funds. The money that's being put up from Sallie Mae and from the Wyoming County IDA is aimed at growing jobs here in Wyoming County. And I hope that every other county in the state will do the same, because it is exactly the right strategy to follow to get people better connected up with the jobs that are here and be given the skills that will help attract jobs, depending upon the profile of a particular county.
Senator, how realistic do you think this is for keeping young people in a small town like here?
I think it's very realistic. Kathy just said that there'll be up to 550 new jobs between Arcade and Perry. These are good-paying jobs. They're jobs that do require certain skills and education that some people naturally have and other people need to be trained for. But when you see what Kathy has accomplished in such a relatively short period of time, there is no reason we can't not only grow this business here, but have spin-offs and attract other businesses to this county, because in every respect, once you see what can be done in a small rural county like this, I believe it's a very attractive selling point to businesses around the country and even the world to say, well, gee, maybe we should look at Wyoming County too.
Any thoughts on President Bush's national voucher plan that the Supreme Court is now looking at with the issues with Cleveland?
Well, the Supreme Court is looking at the case that came out of Cleveland, and we're going to wait and see, obviously, what the court decides. I don't support vouchers. I support public education, because I believe that you come to a school like this, you can see how important public schools are, and I would like to see us put the kind of support that I know would make even more public schools successful like this one.
Anything else here in the back?
Thank you all so much for being here.
Beginning to understand why you're
Senior high school. Good question. I don't know. Most schools got 5 to miss
Senator, my pleasure. Good to see you. I promise not to talk about the area.
And she said, I told some of the cultural degrees we use now. The organization. She said, make sure you give them ideas of the one this is all access.
Point in your legislation might get Rose, you know Everett's just need to Rose runs our government.